So we've got our little baby sock, we've got a heel flap, we've got a heel turn, and we need to get back to working in the round. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to pick up and knit the gusset stitches. And they call it the gusset. It's basically the area along the side of your foot here. And you'll notice I've got this beautiful column of slip stitches that I did when we were doing the slip stitch heel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into each of those slip stitches and I am going to pick up and knit a stitch. When I go to do that, I'm going to go under both strands. You see how I've got two strands there? And I'm going to pick up and knit. And then I'm going to do the next one. Both strands, pick up and knit, pick up and knit. And we're going to do that all the way back up to, oops, I missed that one, all the way back up to the top here. And when I get to the top here, let's see here, we've got our pick up and knit here. When I get to the top here, sometimes I find that there's a gap. So like, I don't mind to pick up an extra stitch here, kind of to get right in there, to close that gap. And when you're doing the decreases for the gusset, that just means that you'll have an extra decrease to do away. So I'm doing this magic loop. If you were doing this on double points, in a minute you would need to rearrange. But here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull through my loop, my little magic loop, and I'm going to knit across. These are now the instep stitches, which the instep is the top of the foot. So we're going to knit just across these little guys. And then we're going to do the same thing that we did on the first side over on the next side. Let's go across, and this is where you're like, Karina, you're the slowest knitter in the world. And that is true, but you know, should have picked a different profession, but I didn't. So we get all the way across and we're back here, and then you can see here's my nice little column of slips, and I am going to do this. I'm going to pull this around so that we're got some give here, because I'm going to rearrange things when we're done here. And if you're using DPNs, I would just start adding in extra needles whenever you feel like you need to. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to start right here, because I'm going to get an extra stitch in that gap area, because I always end up with a hole. Now what you can do also, instead of picking up an extra stitch in that gap area, is you can, oh, and I missed it, is you can use a spare piece of yarn and just close that up with a stitch and then weave in those ends. Some people do that. But like again, I'm going through both legs of that slip stitch and I'm just picking up all the way down. And oops, having a little trouble here. This needle's it's wanting to join the party, but we're not ready for it yet. So we get all the way down here, and it'll tell you how many stitches you're picking up along the side. And basically what it will be is it'll be about 1/4 of your total number of stitches that you started with. So for my little baby sock, I started with 32, so it's 8 stitches. But like I said, as long as you have an even number on each side, this is all going to decrease away, so it's not a big deal. So then I'm going to rearrange everything. So I'm going to pull this guy through. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take, and where is I'm going to take and make sure I've got my 16 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure I'm in the right place. I'm going to pull that loop out this way. And then these are going to be my stitches that I consider to be the bottom needle half. So I can go ahead and knit across these. So let's do that while we're talking about rearranging. And then what you're going to want to do if you're using DPNs is you're going to want to have all the side stitches and then half of the stitches that you had on the bottom of the heel. So you'd be working to about the halfway point here. So then this would be a DPN, this would be a DPN, and then there would be 2 on the top. But like I've said, I prefer the magic loop because it doesn't stab me as much. So we're just going to get across here. Oops, I got a little twisty one there. Get across here. And then I'm going to show you where we're at. We're totally ready to work back in the round, and we can talk about where the gusset decreases are going to go. Okay. So we have our sock, we have our instep stitches, and like I said, if you have DPNs, you might have 2 here. We have the sole and gusset stitches, and if you have DPNs, you would be dividing this in half, and you'd have half here and half here. So as we're working, our gusset decreases are going to be worked right along here and along this line.